Instant Classic family. Today we have the second installment of a series that I guess I'll just call the album breakdown series. The first one in which we covered Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Go ahead and go watch that video right now if you haven't already. But today we have a new album of the year contender. Not saying it's album of the year, but album of the year contender for 2023 in Jack Harlow's Jackman. Let's get straight into an in-depth analysis of what Jack did with his third studio album, Jackman. Before we even start the breakdown, go ahead and subscribe below if you haven't, and comment what other albums you would like me to break down that maybe you've already dropped in 2023 that I just missed or just didn't feel like was worth a breakdown, because not many big hip-hop drops have occurred throughout the year so far. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. Let's get right into it. In order to give context to Jackman, you really have to bring up Jack Harlow's last studio album, Come Home the Kids Miss You, which he dropped only 11 months prior to this Jackman release. Now, this album, while it did get nominated for the best rap album at the Grammys, its critical acclaim was somewhat terrible. It was probably the worst received album in mainstream hip-hop since Chance the Rapper's Big Day, or The Big Day, if I had to, which I do have a video on that as well, if you want to go watch the Chance the Rapper video. Plug. But yeah, probably the most hated hip-hop album mainstream-wide since Chance the Rapper's The Big Day in 2019. But that is probably, in my humble opinion, one of the reasons why Jack decided to drop so quickly again, less than a year before his last release, with this Jackman project. Now, it's stylized Jackman with a period on it, maybe to add some flair or a little bit of pizzazz. I don't know. Add some effects, some drama. I don't know. But it does, I guess, fit kind of the simplicity of the album and what Jack was trying to do here. We got 10 songs on this record, 24 minutes runtime. You don't see albums that short much anymore, at least from big mainstream artists. Normally we're seeing 20-song albums, 26-song albums, 30-song albums, 500,000-song albums. What did Mac DeMarco drop? I don't even know. 1 billion. You know what I mean? So it was already great whenever Jack surprisingly announced that he was dropping his third album on Friday, April 28th, 2 days prior, because I could already tell. First of all, the album title is his first name. Second of all, I know that he felt like he had something to prove after the way the last album was received. Third of all, the cover. Now let's get to the cover. Anyone that is a fan of Jack Harlow's music or has liked it for a long time knows the album covers with the green shading or the green tint behind a picture of Jack loose, gazebo. And now Jackman, that usually resembles that it's going to be a banger of an album. It's just a thing. It's just one of those things, you know. It's not a superstition. This is a fact. Go listen to all those albums if you haven't. Loose, Gazebo, etc. So most Jack fans, including myself, assume that this was going to be a banger of an album. You can even see in my previous video, the video I dropped before this one, which was actually a video I dropped before his album dropping, predicting what it was going to be. I said I thought it was going to be maybe 12 tracks and no features. It ended up being 10 tracks and no features. So I wasn't that far off. If you know Jack Harlow, you can kind of read what he's doing with each drop based on the way he announces the drop. In this one, no singles, no mainstream pushes, barely any promo, just Jackman. To start, the intro to the album, he got off with a fire intro, Common Ground, and I don't think I've seen anyone really react to the album that just hated this song. Most people loved it. Some people just enjoyed it and thought it was pretty good and clever. But in my humble opinion, it's a fantastic intro. One of the hardest, if not the best intros to drop in 2023. Common Ground, Jack Harlow uses his perspective from growing up in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, particularly in the Highlands area, and seeing what he's seen all his life from suburban kids who try to replicate what he deems black culture and hip-hop culture in many ways. Speaking on white kids at his festivals wearing Larry Bird jerseys, dying and waiting to say the N-word. Very interesting topic to start the album off, and I think it plays right into what I think the central theme of the album is, which is just compiled thoughts of Jack's and what makes up Jack Harlow and the way he thinks as a person completely. I think just this album is him, and I'll get to that as we continue to go through each song. Common Ground was a huge way to start the album off and kick it off, a huge statement of a song. And that gets into the second song, which I think is the hit. He already has a music video out for it. They Don't Love It. They Don't Love It has a beautiful Chipmunk Soul Kanye-like sample behind it, as Jack Harlow raps about something that he talks about in many interviews, if you've watched Jack Harlow interviews before, saying they don't love it. Speaking on the rest of hip-hop and his peers that that he deems will never make it past him in hip-hop or in the game or in the industry because they don't love it as much as he does. He talks often about this whole theme around his name as he came up, that he was an industry plant, that he didn't deserve it, all this other stuff, which he talks about a lot more later in the album. But just saying that he doesn't think everybody loves it as much as he does. This guy, there's videos of him rapping from when he was 10 years old on up. As a child, his mom was playing Outkast, etc., all these other hip-hop classics. Thank you, Mama Jack, by the way, for introducing your son to hip-hop. Without that, we would not have the Jack Harlow we have today. But yeah, a very, very hard song to me. Very Kanye college dropout-esque in the instrumental, like I said. And Jack's just rapping with ferocity. He's getting back to the basics. He's getting back to basic Jack. The music video is back in his hometown with his old friend group. Just doing stuff that I feel like he might have been doing in high school or maybe middle school, you know. Getting back to his roots. Because that, in my opinion, is the best way to come back from an album like he did with Come Home the Kids Miss You, is come with something authentic regardless. That's the best way you can get over a flop of an album. Like Chance the Rapper too. Lately with these singles he's been dropping, they're authentic, they're real. He's going to other countries to do whatever. Getting artists to paint the covers. I love whenever artists just get completely authentic, because they realize probably after they try that big commercial success album, and it fails, that they just need to be real and authentic. They don't have to do the commercial success stuff to get to where they want to be in the rap game. Now, moving on a few songs. I don't want to break down every single song, although I could. It's only 10 songs, but I don't want to hold y'all here too long. We got Ambitious, and then Is That Aight? Two just typical Jack Harlow, getting his bars off, and a little bit of a vibe on Is That Aight with the no selfies, just say hi. Yeah, so Jack doing his little thing or whatever. Gang, gang, gang. This is the most polarizing song, and it became the most polarizing song quickly and immediately. Gang, gang, gang kind of explores a very sensitive subject, in which I thought this song was absolutely ridiculous on first listen, ladies and gentlemen. I would not lie to you. I stood there with my friends and cried literal tears of laughter after the first two verses. I mean, because the first two verses are entirely about nothing but two guys, one named Marcus and one named Kevin, who Jack Harlow seemingly was friends with in this story. Maybe it's a story, maybe it's real life, maybe it didn't happen, who knows. But they apparently did some very heinous things. Marcus acquiring 7 rape charges after bringing a girl to the back of a Target and doing dark things to her. And then Kevin texting little girls or little boys, I don't know which one, and then molesting them. But these are friends apparently of Jack's that he grew up with, and he kind of explores the idea that we all are riding for our dogs, dying for our dogs. It's gang, 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 ride till we die, unconditional love, until somebody does something that's extremely heinous and you have to hold them accountable. It's no more ride or die. It's no more what we used to scream or what we used to think we are as gang, gang, gang. So I really do love the concept of the song. I think Jack could have executed it better, in my humble opinion, simply because I think you can fit more into the first two verses than simply just introducing the fact that Marcus and Kevin are fucking weirdos. You know what I mean? He brings it all together with the third verse, which is why I do like the song in general. Has very little to no replay value, though. Will not ride to it in the whip, but a very good conceptual piece from Jack, and it shows promise that maybe in the future we can get a little bit more than just surface level, vibey, clever Jack Harlow slick lines. You know, we might be able to get something a little deeper, some double entendres into deeper subjects and deeper concepts. So look forward for that for Jack in the future. I think this song, while it could have been better, it was a huge step for Jack in his artistry. Moving on to a song like Denver, where Jack is a lot like Ambitious, is kind of describing his thoughts. Only on Ambitious, it was describing his thoughts and his ambition toward his career from ages 14 to 19 and to now 24, whenever he wrote it. And on Denver, he's describing his thoughts of where he's at completely in life. Not just his ambition, but where he's at in life from the time he wrote the song, which I believe was Denver, in Denver of last year, he says on the song, perhaps. I think he said September he wrote it, so maybe he means September 2022, or maybe it was written before then. Who knows? But I assume September 2022 is whenever he wrote the first verse, and then the second verse is his thoughts as he works on the album and writes the album. So later on in the next year, which I believe is 2023, earlier this year. So very, very good piece, kind of just a memoir, just an open book of Jack's diary. I feel like if I had to pick one song that really just describes the entire album, I would say Denver, because Denver is just where Jack's at, period. It's just Jackman. It's Jackman, Thomas, goddamn Harlow, you heard? Moving on The next two songs, 7 and 8, No Enhancers and It Can't Be, are probably my two favorite in terms of radio possibility and success possibility. Maybe, who knows, we're gonna see. I think that No Enhancers is a complete banger. And I love what Jack did here with this one because it has the vibe and the sound and the tone of a typical Jack Harlow banger, like an Out Front or like a Love Is Dro. It's got a typical kind of smooth Jack vibe with it, and it's about females, but it's not corny, and it's also about something real that I think resembles who Jack is as a person. I like my girl natural. She don't need no enhancers. She don't need no enhancers. The whole song is about being completely organic and natural. Although it sounds like a hit record, it kind of doesn't give off the same kind of concepts that hit records give off today. It's not about having a bad bitch or they got her ass done and doing things with her in the back of an Arby's or some heinous stuff. It's talking about, having a girl that's natural completely and being natural in the way that you look at women and the way that you are with things yourself in life. Now, getting into track 8, It Can't Be. This is the most triumphant Jack Harlow you'll hear probably since Nail Tech from the last album. You hear Jack on this record go absolutely in on all of his haters and everybody basically on Twitter and on social media in general that kind of attributes his success to his skin color and him being white. When that, honestly, there's pros and cons that come with that, and it probably equals each other out. He kind of disputes it by saying, hey, it can't be all these other things I did. It can't be the fact that I stayed in the studio all these nights. It can't be the fact that I put all these years of work in that a lot of other rappers didn't put in. It can't be, the fact that I really had to work from where I started to get to where I am. It can't be any of that. It has to just be my skin. That's the only possible way. It can't be all these other things. It can't be that girls find me attractive. It can't be that I make hit records, blah, 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 blah. So, but the way he does it is very, very hard. I love the beat here. The beat is absolutely exhilarating, kind of trappy, perhaps, and it also kind of reminds me of Kanye in terms of energy. Gives me sort of like a Power sort of energy in terms of the beat. I'm not saying the song is on Power's level. It's nowhere close, but the energy and the way you hear the kind of like Halo kind of noises in the background, very triumphant, very great record. And I feel like the way that he attacks the subject is kind of in an Eminem-esque way. Eminem would be brash and very raw and real about things. This is kind of Jack straight up telling y'all, hey, it ain't because I'm white. Look, these are the reasons I'm where I'm at. And just bringing a white boy topic in general is going to make somebody think of Eminem. But Jack Harlow, I love this song from Jack. Track 8, It Can't Be. And that brings us to the end of the album. The last two songs, which are just lyrical masterpieces. Maybe not masterpieces, but for Jack, they're masterpieces. Blame on Me, which he speaks from the perspective of, I believe, his little brother, or he is the little brother, I'm not sure, but a brother of himself, and his father, all putting blame on each other for maybe certain things that they might have done, but eventually all forgiving each other, I believe, within the concept. And Questions is the final track where he's just spitting, asking questions, doing real just Jack Harlow stuff, asking why do fans think that he wants to cater to the audience that they think he should cater to when he has a passionate following that shows up to every show he has. Questions like that, just him going back and forth with himself within his head. So every single song, if you notice, even Is That Alright, where he's saying 10 girlfriends and no wife, that's how I want to live my life. Is that alright? Like, just every single song is a piece of Jack or a piece of his mental in his mind state. And I think that's why this album is going to be kind of like the central theme album of who Jack Harlow is. That's why I called it Jackman. And I love that he kept it very short and sweet. I believe any one of these songs could have been a bit too long if they was dragged on any longer. I love the shortness of them. Even No Enhancers, where you just get the hook, a verse, and then the hook again. Great short and simplicity. I think that's why he put the period at the end of that title, like I brought up at the beginning of the video. And that's why he brought it back to his roots for the album cover, just shirt off in the middle of a random alleyway in Louisville. Bringing it back to his roots. Now, what will this album do for Jack's career? Now, if they gave Come Home the Kids Miss You a Grammy nomination, call me crazy, they might give this one the winner next year. I think the Grammys just love Jack Harlow. He's America. He's the American sweetheart in hip-hop right now. He's very kid-friendly. Interestingly, the last 4 songs on this album are listed to have no cuss words. It Can't Be, No Enhancers, Blame on Me, and Questions. It says they have no cuss words, so don't know if that's just a mistake and I'm forgetting some, but I can't think of many cuss words on those 4 songs. It's very interesting how Jack can find ways continuously to appeal to a whole wide range of audience listeners. I think even urban listeners who are into street music could get down with songs like It Can't Be, just because of the sound of the record, the trap sound of the record, the hard hittingness of the record. He's really spitting on the whole album in a way that kind of Drake raps on 4 a.m. in Calabasas, 7 a.m. in Bridle Path. Just the timestamp records by Drake. He raps like that the entire album, but in his own Jack way. And I can see the Drake comparisons everybody has with him. However, I don't think he's as talented as Drake is quite yet, of course. Can I see them getting there in the future? Absolutely. But he has to quit with some of the surface levelness on some of his bars. That is one critique he still has for me. And he's always had that. Even on his vibey records like Loose, I feel like he can really open up his pen. While I do think this album is the best his pen has ever been, he has the potential to push his pen even further, the same way I think Drake did earlier in his career. So we'll see where Jack Harlow takes things after this album. I believe it's projected to do 40 or 50K around there, and that's fantastic for an album with no promo, no features, 10 songs, and was announced 2 days prior to its release. That's incredible considering he just had Drake, Lil Wayne, Justin Timberlake, and Pharrell on an album with a #1 single and 2 months of promo, and still only did 113,000, which he could have done 200,000 if the album was as classic as it should have been. But he kind of sacrificed a lot of quality on there just to appeal to the mainstream, and I completely understand it. It worked. He got a lot of money, went on a crazy grossing tour, so I think he's going to go on tour with this album. I believe he's getting back to his roots with this album and bringing in a lot more hip-hop fans that he might have lost with Come Home, the Kids Miss You, which is what he needed. It's exactly what he needed. And although I wanted maybe more bangers, perhaps maybe some of his unreleased stuff, like a No Question.
This might be my ringtone. I kick a bitch to the curb, no question. Fell asleep in the West End. I got friends in the East and the West End. First class for the first time, I'm flexing. It's a direct flight, no connection. Bad bitches, champagne bottles in my section. All types of complexions. I remember back when she ain't show me no affection. I remember back when I couldn't get a car back. Okay, cool, I'ma fall back. Ronnie used to whip it to the red roof.
Yeah, by the way, if you've made it to this point in the video, please go spam Jack Harlow on all social medias and tell him to drop No Question. I don't care how many years it takes. That is one of that would be one of the, if not the hardest Jack Harlow song to ever come out in all of creation. I do think that this is, after hearing him do it, what I would want. It's for the same reason that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm a Bengals fan. I recently saw the Bengals in the draft. They might have drafted players that I didn't expect them or want them to draft, but after they did it, I feel a lot better about it the more I look into it. The more I see that Jack just kept it completely real and authentic and didn't even try to make a hit, that's the better for him. Because it's going to bring a lot of organic fans. It's going to keep a lot of his fans with him. The ones that might have been, Jack, what are you doing with Come Home, the Kids Miss You? And he did that exactly what I think he's going to do with this album. So I think it'll sell upwards of 50K, maybe 50 to 55, if I had to guess. I think it will get nominated for the Grammy at very least in next year's Grammy for Best Rap Album. And I think it's going to do very well, even commercially. Maybe not on the radio. Maybe the hits, maybe the songs won't be radio hits as much as they were on the last project, but I think it will stream very well over time. I think it'll age very well, and I can't wait to see what it does. As it's just a big orb of who Jack is, and will be a central piece of his discography moving forward, regardless of what anyone says. When we talk about who Jack Harlow as an artist, we're going to go back to this album. We're going to hear a lot of the topics he hit on, and see that is they all are it's kind of just his life memoir. The whole album is. That's my breakdown of Jack Harlow's Jackman. Let me know below how you guys feel about the album. In my humble opinion, I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10 right now. I think it's a very, very good record, but of course not a 9 or a 10 because there are some slights I have with it. I think he did, although I love that he kept it real and authentic and got back to the bars, I do think there was room to give a little bit more of that somewhat corny Jack flavor that would make it a little bit more vibey, like that No Enhancers kind of song where, No Enhancer, my homeboy his homeboy beating cancer has nothing to do with that song, but to have it on the hook is just a Jack Harlow thing, and it sounds good. And he had a lot of that on Come Home the Kids Miss You, and I think that was the good part to Come Home the Kids Miss You, is when you just get Jack vibing and using melodies in his favor. There wasn't many melodies on this album, and I think that's one thing that makes Jack Harlow who he is. So I hope on the next album we go back to that. I hope on the next album we also get more features. I hope this album is him getting all his bars and his life, personal feelings out the way. It's time to get back to the hits and say fuck what the haters say, kind of like what Drake had to do early in his career, although maybe his haters weren't as hard on him because he didn't have a Come Home the Kids Miss You early in his career. Drake had to just say fuck the haters and continue to make hits, because that at the end of the day is what's going to keep you at the pinnacle and the point at which Jack Harlow wants to get in his career and where he wants to be viewed within the rap landscape in the 2020s decade. Subscribe below. Let me know what other albums y'all want me to break down. Let me know if y'all like me breaking down albums. I enjoy doing it. I think I like doing it more so on albums that I have integral knowledge about. Like Kendrick's I knew a lot about because of Eckhart Tolle and his spiritual teachings. I'm very much into already. And then Kendrick is just my favorite rapper of all time, or second behind Kanye. So it just made sense. And then this Jack album, I'm from Louisville, so I've seen Jack's come up. I think I can give you guys a little bit more background knowledge into what he means by some of these songs and where his mind and what he was trying to do with the album in general. Let me know what other albums you guys want me to break down, though, because I can't do research on any of them. I'm not lazy, I promise y'all that. Even though I don't upload as much as I should, I will soon. Everybody comments and says y'all want more uploads. I will get them to you. Instant Classic family, I'm out. Deuces.